I love Money in the Bank. It's one of my favorite pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever you want to call it, of all time. Because there's so much that is unexpected and you never know what is going to happen, whether they're going to cash in that night at Money in the Bank or you're going to have a Seth Rollins situation where they're going to cash in the main event of WrestleMania. So I thought it'd be fun today if we look back at the Money in the Bank winners, but we're going to look at who should have won Money in the Bank for the last decade, men's and women's side. And it could end up being the winner themselves. We feel like they should have won anyways. So let's take a look. We're gonna go and start with the most recent. We'll work our way backwards in time. Okay, so for 2023, we had Damian Priest win the Money in the Bank. Now he cashed in at WrestleMania, obviously. He is still World Heavyweight Champion. We'll see what happens at Clash of the Castle. But looking at who else was in the match, you had Butch, LA Knight, yeah. You had Logan Paul, Ricochet, Santos Escobar, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Kind of weak on paper, isn't it? It's hard to say who else could have, should have won. Because Priest as World Heavyweight Champion, yeah, hasn't been much of a story. You know what? I'm going to say that LA Knight should have won Money in the Bank. Supremely over. He was so hot at the time, still is. Matt's got a LA Knight crush, doesn't he? So I think LA Knight should have been the one to win the briefcase because you could have still had the WrestleMania moment. Damian Priest was not totally necessary. You could have slotted in LA Knight to take that title off of Drew. Sure, he was on SmackDown, but it's WWE. Make up your own rules. Okay, Io Sky won women's Money in the Bank that year as well. She was going up against Bayley, Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, Zelina Vega, and Zoe Stark. Now, I think Io winning was great because of the title run that we got with Io. And it did a lot for Damage Control. She cashed in at SummerSlam, pinning Bianca. I think it was good. I probably would have stuck with Io. You guys let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I would have said Trish Stratus, but only Trish if she was going to be sticking around longer, because I think you could have told a really cool story with a veteran like Trish coming in, not having to wrestle, just holding that briefcase and just teasing. If Trish was staying around, I would have picked her because I think it would have been a really interesting story. I will say Io Sky, we stay with her because I think it made the most sense. All right, 2022 for the winners. Liv Morgan won in 2022. She went up against Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi, and Lacey Evans. Liv cashed in at Money in the Bank that night against Ronda Rousey, which was actually a really cool moment. Honestly, I probably would say Liv should have won anyways. It would have made the most sense. Becky never, like, she's the other standout name at this time. You could have put it on Becky, but she doesn't really need it. So I think Liv was probably the best choice. The cash in the same night is a really cool moment. And at that point, Liv was like the underdog and the crowd was getting behind her. So it was a cool moment. The men's side, however, this should not have happened in Matt's opinion. Austin Theory won Money in the Bank in 2022. Didn't care for this. Not only because of just it was Theory and it was meh, but also the whole story of him having Money in the Bank is a wild one with Vince McMahon and that whole build up, and then he like cashed in on the US title. He never cashed in on Rome. It made no sense. Okay, in 2022 though, Theory won, but the other competitors were Seth, Riddle, Omos, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Madcap Moss, and Sami Zayn. Now I went and rewatched a little bit of this, and I will say, I think Riddle should have won. This was RK Bro time, and Riddle was very over in this thing. Now, if they felt like Riddle was going to be the guy, or a guy, or at least have a better, cooler story, I think it would have been a little bit more fun to have Riddle win the Money in the Bank. So he was more over, even in the moments of like him about to climb and get the briefcase. The crowd was popping. RK Bro was so over with the crowd. They were one of the hot acts at the time. I probably would have put it on Riddle. You could have Riddle maybe fail the cash in still, but it could have been because Randy turned on Matt Riddle and they could have fought for the briefcase, have Randy win. You could have done a lot more cool stuff, I think. We know that Randy got injured and then it all went to hell anyway. So I probably would have said Riddle though, because I think we would have a more interesting story than what we got with Austin Theory. 2021. So we had Nikki ASH. Man, this is getting into the COVID era, and it's still Vince all over this thing. Listen to this. Okay, Nikki ASH, I like Nikki Cross, but Nikki ASH won the Money in the Bank you had Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, Natalya, and Tamina in this match. She defeated Charlotte to win on Raw, if you remember that. She cashed in on July 19th episode of Raw. Flair was going up against Rhea Ripley. How did she win? How did she lose the title after that? Hang on a second. I have questions. So then she lost the title. She was a champ for 32 days. She cashed in on Charlotte, and then at SummerSlam, she lost the title back to Charlotte when it was a triple threat. Charlotte, Nikki ASH, and Rhea Ripley. Man, that was bad. They rushed the character. The Nikki ASH character on paper was kind of fun. You know, you got a Mighty Molly kind of thing going on. You could see what they wanted to do, but it was rushed. And the crowd popped for the Money in the Bank win, but the WWE at this time was really all over the place with the women's division. It was bad. Like Rhea Ripley, they were not treating Rhea like the champ she is now. It was not fun. So then who should have won? It shouldn't have been Nikki ASH because they just flipped her around so many times. I probably would have said Asuka should have won this. They're all kind of good contenders. I mean, you could have not Zelina at the time, Natalya, no. You could have done probably Asuka. Now on the men's side, Big E won the Money in the Bank in 2021. Love Big E. And I'm glad that he got a chance to be WWE champion. However, he cashed in on Raw on Bobby Lashley. Seems like a theme. They did it to Nikki ASH, they did it to Big E. So in the men's match, you had Ricochet, John Morrison, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, King Nakamura, and Seth Rollins. For this one, probably gonna say Big E still should have won, but I think it's what they did after. He defeated Bobby Lashley. It wasn't anything. His title run was so thin, and then he lost shortly after. Didn't do much for Big E. And I thought that they should have treated him better as a big time champion, and they never got him off the ground. So I have no problem with Big E winning. I just have more of the problem with the booking and the fallout of it. So I would have kept Big E as the Money in the Bank winner. It was an amazing moment. I just think that WWE should have booked it better afterwards. Okay, so now we have 2020 pandemic. There we are. Now this was actually fun. This was the pre-recorded the Money in the Bank that they did at the WWE headquarters. And this was probably one of the most entertaining things they did during COVID era and all of that. They had the Firefly match. We had John Cena versus Bray at WrestleMania. That was incredible. Boneyard match was also pretty cool. This is up there for me as one of the top things they did during this era. So Asuka won Money in the Bank, going up against Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. She didn't cash in at all because Becky was pregnant. And so they did it right after, where Becky opened up the briefcase and it was the WWE Championship. And so Asuka just got handed the belt. Kind of a wonky thing because what else are you gonna do? The only other, I guess, popular wrestler at this time, it's pandemic. It kind of goes off in its own world, doesn't it? I might have said Lacey Evans at the time. They kept trying with her character so very much. Nia Jax, no. Carmella, I always like Carmella. They could have maybe worked with her more. But I'm thinking because you had Becky Lynch just hand the belt over, you wanted a feel-good moment. So like she wanted to hand it over to a heel. I guess Asuka would have been the right choice, right? Like otherwise I would have said Lacey Evans, and then maybe Becky would just have to just purely vacate the belt, but then that gets weird because Money in the Bank is right there. So then, you know what? I would have done that. I would have had Becky announce that she's going to vacate the title because she's pregnant. So that would have happened. And then I would have had Lacey Evans come down and just stand there and say, here's my briefcase and I am taking the women's championship. That would have gotten her crazy heat. You had a nice feel-good, happy moment between Asuka and Becky, and it was really sweet. But for storyline, yeah, I would have done that. I would have had Lacey Evans heel it up and just take the championship. Tell Becky in the ring and say, I'm cashing in now, and I am taking this. You're not vacating anything. I am taking this from you right now. And then Becky has to like just literally hand it over. That would have been more fun. Okay, and then during pandemic, you had Otis win the Money in the Bank. Vince had a hard-on for Otis at this time, if you remember. He was big in Otis. You had the Mandy Rose Otis thing going on too, which actually was not that bad. It was pretty entertaining. I miss Mandy Rose. And then you had him lose Money in the Bank to The Miz. And then The Miz, I think, cashed in on Lashley. Is that right? On Raw, followed by Miz losing it again, like shortly after. It was weird. Okay, so in the men's match, you had AJ Styles, Otis, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, King Corbin, and Rey Mysterio. And Otis again lost his contract to the Miz at Hell in a Cell. Oh, okay, so Miz, I'm looking at the notes. Miz defeated Drew at Chamber to win the championship after McIntyre defended against a bunch of guys inside there. Man, that's a mess. So no, I wouldn't have gone with Otis. That was probably a really bad idea. You know what would have been cool? Because they didn't do anything with him? You could have done Aleister Black and actually given that guy something. He could have painted the Money in the Bank briefcase black and then try to cash in on Brock or something. Like, because I figure it's always Brock or Roman's champion. Okay, I mean, Daniel Bryan being there kind of towards his final run, right? Yeah, you could have done Bryan, but Bryan wasn't a heel. You're just kind of like a good baby face, and he's gonna kick everyone's head in. King Corbin, no. Rey Mysterio, nah. AJ was the other contender there for me. I'm gonna go with Aleister Black because you could have heated the guy up and done something with him before he left. Okay, 2019. The winner was Bayley for the women's side, going up against Carmella, Dana Brooke, Ember Moon, Mandy Rose, Naomi, Natalya, and Nikki Cross. Bayley defeated Charlotte the same night, cashing in, and won the championship. So for Bayley in Money in the Bank, still think she should have cashed in and won. Nobody other than like Mandy Rose. And if you rewatch the match, you could see Sonya Deville was helping Mandy Rose climb up. I always like having a heel. Ultimately, I like having heels having Money in the Bank because I think it just works better overall for the story. But Bayley winning Money in the Bank was a really feel-good moment. Nobody else really stands out during this time. I think it was a better move. And you always had the heel Charlotte, and she defeated her. So yeah, I would say that, you know what, Bayley winning probably made the most sense. But you know what didn't make a lot of sense? Was the men's side. Brock Lesnar won Money in the Bank this year. Now, we did get Boombox Brock, which we love. This was a great thing. However, the men's Money in the Bank match, you had Ali, Andrade, Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. Lesnar cashed in at Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules. He won the Universal title. Brock's win, the way WWE did this as Brock being the 8th man, brother, was so bad. Like, because he didn't go in the match. His music, Ali was climbing the ladder, and then Brock's music hit, and then he just took the briefcase, and that was the end of it. And you're like, come on, it was just a way to get Brock the title again. I wouldn't have done any of that. I would have had Randy Orton win and give me heel Randy Orton cashing in. Then I would have Randy Orton RKO Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules. Have Randy be super duper heel, just dummying people. And then you could have had Seth versus Randy again. That would have been a lot of fun. The Brock with the briefcase, like the boombox thing was the only freaking fun thing we got out of it. 2018, Alexa Bliss won Money in the Bank. You had Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Ember Moon, Lana, Naomi, Natalya, and Sasha Banks all in Money in the Bank. So Bliss won the WWE Raw Championship the same night, defeating Nia Jax after also taking out Ronda Rousey, who was fighting Jax for the belt. Now for this match, you could have had Becky win. I still like that Bliss won, cash in on Nia Jax, their history. That's all cool. And Bliss as champion is fun. There's a lot of Alexa Bliss fans out there. I think you could have also done Becky, because I think Becky at that time, it's 2018, so she is on the cusp of, she's climbing up on SmackDown, and she's not the man yet, that character. She hasn't gotten to that point. I think you could have done Becky winning the Money in the Bank and hold on to that and then do a giant cash in on a heel. And then that would have propelled her even higher. So, and she could have feuded with Charlotte still, maybe even done like an announced cash in against Charlotte to go for the belt. And you could have still ended up with the same timeline, her becoming the man. Bliss is a good option. Do you know what? I am going to say Becky Lynch might have been a little bit more interesting. Now on the men's side, Braun Strowman won that Money in the Bank. Oh boy. So in that match, you had Bobby Roode, Glorious, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Kofi Kingston, Rusev, Samoa Joe, and The Miz. So Strowman attempted to win the Universal Championship from Roman at Hell in a Cell. The match was ruled no contest. The interference from Brock, Paul Heyman. Oh, that's right. It was such a mess. Wasn't that where they chucked the Money in the Bank briefcase up the ramp? So it was like nothing. And then they zoomed out the camera, like the pay-per-view was over because no one liked Roman Reigns at the time. And then it was just a no contest at the end. What a mess. Now I am a Samoa Joe fan. I'd love to see Joe win anything. He got his feud with AJ Styles. I think for this, you guys let me know what you would have done. I probably would have given it to Braun still. This is like another one we had previously where it was like Big E. With Braun, you could have had Braun win Money in the Bank still, because Braun in this time period of 2017, 2018 got really over. Braun was a pretty big deal. Like I remember going to Raw and seeing, it was like at the peak of like Braun and Roman having their feud every single week, just destroying stuff. He had kind of peak monster among men. And if he's mixing it up with Roman and Brock, those are all good things. I remember we had that match where it was like Braun got dummied in the head by Brock. The whole pay-per-view though, like with the cash in and him, they're chucking the briefcase out of the way. It's a no contest. And again, like I said, they just quickly ended the show because they didn't want the crowd to boo. I think you could have kept it on Braun, but you needed to do a significantly better job here, because the thing is that they were just trying to get Roman over. They were trying so hard, whatever they could do, to get Roman Reigns to be the guy, and the crowd rejected it. So I think if you just kind of rewrote history a little bit, you could have had Braun do the cash in, maybe just clean on Brock, and defeated him there, thus putting over Braun even stronger. And then you could have had Roman and Braun going at it, and then Roman eventually takes the title off of Braun Strowman. Keep it on Braun. I would have kept that could have still worked with Braun Strowman. Just the booking after fell apart. Okay, let's go back a little bit further. We're going 2017. Carmella won the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So we had Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Tamina. Oh, but this was when James Ellsworth helped Carmella win Money in the Bank at the pay-per-view, and it got crapped on. People were like, this is terrible, because it was ruining like you had a man in a women's wrestling match in the ladder match. Oh, and you had James Ellsworth come in and he won the Money in the Bank briefcase for Carmella. And then Bryan goes and strips because he was the general manager. They redid the ladder match on SmackDown. And then Carmella won it again on SmackDown. So they just got the same result. But I remember that the crowd was so against this and how it finished. They redid it on SmackDown. Yeah, I would have kept it on Carmella. I'm not changing it. Then on the men's side, Baron Corbin. All right, so you had AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Man, this was a slump of a time, wasn't it? So the cash-in, Corbin was defeated by Jinder Mahal because of the distraction of John Cena on SmackDown, and he lost the briefcase cash-in attempt. I remember that. It was terrible. I don't think anybody else's story was going on, like anything was happening at this time. Nobody else was a standout. Nakamura was not who he was. Ziggler was still around. Owens, Zayn, and Styles would have been your only other options, and AJ Styles was running SmackDown. But Jinder was champion. So, oh geez. You know what? Let's go with Sami Zayn. I can't remember. I'm going with Sami Zayn. Should have won at this time. Could have held on to it and cashed in later. Just it made a little bit more sense. Baron Corbin, that was what a waste of a cash in. What a waste of Money in the Bank for distraction. Jinder Mahal and John Cena involved. Good Lord. Okay, 2016. Dean Ambrose won Money in the Bank against Alberto Del Rio. He was still around. Says, listen to the, oh, this is a like borderline an AEW ladder match, guys. Dean Ambrose wins. Jon Moxley wins. He went up against Alberto Del Rio, Cesaro, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. The cash-in. Ambrose cashed in his briefcase less than an hour after winning it, defeating Seth Rollins for the world title. And Rollins versus Roman was the match. Yeah, I would have kept it on Dean. Jon Moxley doing that because he had the whole Shield element going on in there. Keep it on Dean Ambrose for the win. Because then we went into SmackDown Live era and Dean Ambrose was the WWE champion. And it was kind of fresh, somebody new, somebody different. So I liked it. I like how they did that. I would have kept it the same. Then we go to 2015, because there's no women's match in 2016. 2015, Sheamus won Money in the Bank. So we had Dolph Ziggler, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Neville, Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns in the ladder match. Sheamus defeated Reigns at Survivor Series to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Reigns defeated Dean Ambrose to win the vacated title. Now I remember this because this was Authority era, really hard push on Roman Reigns, but nobody wanted it. And I looked back at like the clip of Sheamus cashing in. Triple H comes down, Roman spears Triple H because they're trying to get him over. There's all confetti because Roman won the belt. Like they were trying so hard at this point with Roman Reigns. Then Sheamus wins and the crowd pops huge because it wasn't Roman Reigns winning. Then you had the belt on Sheamus. Oh, Awful, just awful, all of it awful. I don't know who you put Money in the Bank on in this scenario. Like 2015, it's all because it's all revolving around Roman, and Dean Ambrose was in there. Like, it was all about Roman Reigns. My pick is just not Sheamus. So I probably would have said that at this point, not Kane. No, Dolph didn't need it. Kofi would have been cool. Neville was in there for high spots. So Randy and Roman are in there. I mean, the only thing I could say doing is like Roman wins Money in the Bank to get ultimate heat and then becomes a heel, but they didn't do anything right with Roman. And if Randy won, it's all convoluted into my head too, because Randy, it was the authority time, and I don't know. You probably couldn't have done that because you're still trying to get to the end goal of having Roman Reigns get that thing. It's all kind of like if you had Roman be heel, everything else would have been easier. Oh my gosh, is Sheamus really the only option here that would have made the most sense? Oh no. I mean, I would have loved if Kofi Kingston won Money in the Bank, but then you got to replay the whole scenario with Roman Reigns and Kofi cashing in. Roman wins the title. You know what? Randy Orton. Just put it on Randy. Have him be a heel. He probably was a heel at 2015 because he always was. And then he cashes in RKO's Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. And the authority thing. Yeah, why didn't they do that? That's weird. Okay, Randy Orton. Last one. 2014 that we're covering. Seth Rollins wins Money in the Bank against Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, Jack Swagger, and Rob Van Dam. Rollins cashed in his contract in the middle of the match at WrestleMania 31. You know what? It's a great way to end because I don't think that cash-in should have changed and that Money in the Bank should have changed at all. I think Rollins was perfect at the time for that, and that cash-in moment at WrestleMania 31 was top-tier moment. Great pop, great moment all around. What did you guys think about Money in the Bank for the last decade? Who should have won? What were your picks? If you guys enjoy videos like that, click this one here because we have our Clash of the Castle predictions are ready to go for you. Have a great day. See ya.